Hi guys, this is Michael from the Boardgames Chronicle. Today I have a material for you about Red Dust Rebellion coin series, already volume 12. The game designed by the Jared Carmichael, and the series of course was started and initiated by Folko Runke, the game from GMT Games. This is the second game which I'm doing about this title. There will be several more. In first, we showed the game overview, the background, the information behind the basic mechanics and game components. In this second material, I will be focusing on explaining to you the main rules of the game. We talk about the map, about the pieces on the map, about areas, sectors, labyrinths, the desert, Earth. How does it work? We'll see at the confidence of the Earth government towards the Martian government. We'll see how the population is being placed on the map. All technicalities, all the rules, all what you need to know in order to play it. One exception, we will not be very deeply discussing each of the four factions. We'll have one material for each faction in which we will be discussing, what's this faction about, what pieces does it have, what victory condition does it have, what strategies we can do with them, what events are good for them. So today we learn the general rules, a lot of them, I believe. I will divide this into the pieces. You will have below video. You can see that there are links to particular groups of rules you might be interested in. This is a very fresh design, very interesting design, taking the coin to the Mars, so it's really something like a novelty. The game was published like a year ago and I'm still discovering this. It has a lot of new twists, a lot of new mechanics, and you shall see how they were implemented. But let me start maybe from what this game is about. You already know about Mars, but what more? It's already like mid of the 23rd century. The Mars is already colonized. As we can see on the map, there are some populated areas called labyrinths, which are, with the people, and also some deserts. So we are not talking about the colonization, like some of the games you might play in the past, but of the political, ideological struggle on the planet Mars. And this is what it will be focusing on. There will be factions which will be fighting, as you might probably guess. There will be faction which is connected to the Earth. There will be some independent faction, and so on and so forth. It borrows a lot of features from the previous, coin games, like sequence of play, which you can see over there, like control, like support, opposition towards government. However, it has already decent number of pretty innovative mechanics, like how the support from Earth is coming, how one of the factions, this orange one about which I will tell you in a moment, gets the resources and executes the events. So a lot of novelty in mid-23rd century on the Mars, where this is game from 1 to 4 players, it's important to note. So you have 4 factions, but you can stay with bots. And each of the players, of course, will take charge of one of the 4 factions, which are, as I said already, locked in an ideological struggle. Each faction is different. This is asymmetric games. This is counter-insurgency game. So as you might probably expect, we have a government and somebody who will be trying to fight against it. So let us tell a bit about the factions and who will be fighting here. We have 4 factions, and by the way, I have a rule book here handy, which shows all this stuff very nicely. A beautiful rule book with beautiful pictures, and we'll now tell you about 4 factions: blue, black, red, orange, and white. Let's start from the blue faction. Blue faction, that is the Martian government. You can see here the units of the Martian government and also the player aid for the Martian government. This is simply the government which is currently running the Mars. and they are trying to find a balance between the support from the local population and appeasing them, and also between cooperating with the Earth, who is still, like overlords of them, of the Martian government. It has to simply balance interests of both sides, Earth and local population, and they are official, government on the planet, and they are official, let's say, the body which runs this planet. When we have the black pieces, this will be the Earth-controlled companies, corporations, which have a lot of interest in Mars. They have bottomless amounts of resources to commit to this conflict. However, they need to show the profit in front of their stakeholders, and the profit will be their main let's say, source of victory points. Together with the Martian government MG, so blue ones and black ones, they are counter-insurgent factions. So they together fight with the other two factions. And what are the other two factions? First and foremost, Red Dust Movement. Red Dust, or RD. Red Dust Movement, this is those red units. And what is it? It demands a government for Martians, by Martians, without Earth interference, and they are willing to install one, if not by the peaceful measures, by force, by revolution. So it was a native-born Martians workers movement, dusters, and it really started to be organized. Their stronghold is here. We'll be talking about, sectors of the Mars. You can see a lot of red, control, opposition, and so on. The fourth, completely crazy, completely different and unique faction is Church of Reclaimer or CR otherwise. These are those orange units. Who they are? They look at the mistakes of an old Earth and they does not want to repeat them. They believe that we have poisoned our homeland world and planning on poisoning, Mars too. While corporations, so the black ones, black faction, will be trying to transform the Mars. They will be, having bases, which then you can, change to the transforming centers. They will try to stop transformation or even revert it. And while, some of the peaceful parts of this movement will do the protests, petitions and so on, the more violent part, the more radical part will simply start fight. Now, as I said, counter-insurgent factions are the government, Martian government, and the corporations, and the insurgents are, the Church of Reclaimers, so the orange ones, and the Red Dust Movement. Important is to understand who is friendly towards whom and who is enemy of whom. So counter-insurgent factions, they are friendly. They together, they might, act together. They might defend their bases. They, of course, can hurt each other with the events and some of the operations. But in essence, they are friends. The insurgents, they are enemies to coin factions, but also to each other. So they will not, for example, defend the bases. The bases, as in every coin game, will be destroyed the last in the particular area. So this is also the common theme from the coin insurgency, type of games. Factions. These were factions, as you can see, very interesting, and they are really distinct, especially the factions which brings the supplies from the Earth, the Church of Reclaimer, which has a special type of resources. However, you can see on this map also some white cubes. What is it? This is the fifth faction, which you cannot play. This is the Earth government, e.g. This is a fifth non-player faction that maintains elite ground forces and an extensive satellite network. You can see those elite ground forces here and the satellites which are being, sent, transferred to the Mars. They are controlled by one of the two counterinsurgency players. If the confidence of the Earth government is high, it will be Martian government which controls the Earth government forces. If the Earth government thinks, it's not good on Mars, the things are not moving in the right direction, it will be corporations who, try to exploit the profits from this, planet. Who controls those forces? That's very important concept and a very important thing to understand, which will be changing during the game. And as you shall see, depending on the level of trust, a different number of units will be sent. So that's all about the factions. Let's move on. I believe it's always good to start the explanation of the game with some background and then jump to the map. So this is the map of our game. What we have here, we have sectors, 1, 2, 3 sectors and something called wilderness. Each of those sectors are divided into areas which are either deserts or so-called labyrinths. Labyrinth is like a city. It can be underground, it can be under some, some structures which prevent, the harmful radiation reaching the people. These are labyrinths, and the labyrinths, there are several labyrinths here, as you can see on the map. Labyrinths can be connected with each other by those lines, and they have some interesting name, maglev lines, I believe it is called. Let me just check. Yeah, maglev lines, I have it correctly, which allow for the communication, but they also divide the desert spaces from what you can see. This is not built yet. We have maglev line here, 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 here. Those two, let's say, labyrinths are adjacent to each other. What else do we see on the map? Here we have Earth and their support. So Earth, Transit and Phobos are 3 places through which we will be moving the supplies from the Earth to the Mars, and they can be used by the Earth government controller. This is called Aldrin cylinder. Aldrin cylinder is this way of transporting the stuff from Earth to Mars. Let's see. Here's the general track. We have resources here and victory points of all the factions. We will not be talking about them now. Here we have the level of the trust in the Martian government, Earth government confidence called. It starts pretty low here. At 1, it is 1 victory point for the Martian government, but it can go as far as 10. The casualties box, which is being used only for Earth government and corporation units, displays population. The population will be coming to Mars, and we need to do something with them. We need to make sure that they have some work, that they are part of a community, that they inhabit the areas which were prepared already. Overflow boxes, something typical also for coin games. Now, let us have a bit closer look at some of the areas. Let's look at the labyrinth. What do we have here? Here's the space where you keep the units, occupying it, and here you have infrastructure. Infrastructure shows whether it's populated or not. If it has green, squares, it means that it has 2 population, and it still has space for 2 more population. If you have such marker, which says damage, it says there was a population here, however, due to damage, there is no more. If you have such a rocket, that means that there is a starport in the particular labyrinth, As you can see, they are here, and they allow for a very easy and quick communication between labyrinths and with Phobos. As you might probably expect, the rebels may do something in order to destroy, to damage the population, for example this, and cut this labyrinth from the communication via starport. Of course, the government can try to place the displaced population and increase the population of some cities. The very, let's say, fundamental mechanic of the coins, so support and opposition, is also here. You will see, active support in those two areas, passive opposition, active opposition, and of course, when you calculate total opposition, total support, you multiply the opposition, passive opposition times 1, the population, active opposition times 2. So, for example, this gives 4 opposition for the, as you might guess, rebels, who are the red dust faction. So already some familiarities. Each area has maximum number of 2 bases, and you have slots here just to remember about it. With one exception, wilderness. Wilderness is a huge area, huge swaths of area which are adjacent to all 3 sectors, and is so huge that you can have up to 6 bases here. So this is also something important. You will see on the map also some numbers: 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, 6, and then additional number here. Why do we use them? Because at some point in the game you will be rolling those 2 dice, and with those 2 dice you will be identifying the areas. It could be, if white is 3 and black is 4, is this area, and it will show us where the storm is either covering or already ranging. So you can see this is approaching storm here, and you have raging storm here. They will have impact on actions you can do, as you might probably expect. The factions who live from the land and really try to be in symbiosis with it, so Church of Reclaimer will not be hit by those storms, but the regular troops might be devastated by it. Okay, what else do we have here? I believe, the sequence of play track is important also. Classical one for the coin games. We'll tell about this in a moment. And Flashpoint. This is additional mechanic in this game. You not only have, the regular coin, let's say, victory point checks, which are called dust storms here, but you have also something called Flashpoint, which will be pushing forward and doing some actions in less predictable way than the regular card drawing. And of course we'll have cards. Okay, so I believe that will be all about the map. I will tell you now a bit in a moment about the components and playing pieces. We have several types of the units and of the pieces. First of all, we have coin troops or security. This will be the Earth government troops. This will be the Corp security, and this will be, of course, Martian government troops. So those 3 cubes. They are always active. They are never hidden. They simply act like soldiers in our games. To this, you will have more sneaky units. 3 types of them also. You will have special operations of the corporations, and they can be hidden or active. You will have rebels from the Church of Reclaimer, also hidden or active. And last but not least, you will have the Red Dust Movement rebels, which can be hidden or active. As you might probably guess, if you are not active, you cannot be hurt, as in many games. Now, there will be also bases, several types of bases. First of all, you have the coin bases. So this is the base for the Martian government, and this is the base for the corporations. However, if with some special activation you will flip this base, it changes to the Terra base, which will be terraforming, the Mars. On the other hand, you will have bases for the insurgents. You will have for the Church of Reclaimer, and you will have one for the Red Dust movement. Also, with a proper, special abilities, special, actions, you will be able to dig in this base. And if I remember correctly, you will be able to battle back if you're attacked, or you can create this into the conversion center, which works totally against the terraforming base. So these are, two competing approaches to what should happen on the Mars: to terraform it or to reclaim it. Yeah, let's say for the nature. Other than that, as far as pieces are concerned, we have also satellites. Those are, sent by the Martian government, and they will be tweaking some of the actions. For example, of the coin forces, easier to spot the enemies, especially in the desert, and especially during the storm. Easier to do a lot of interesting activities and functions. We have supplies. The supplies will be coming from Earth via Aldrin cylinder, and every time they reach Phobos, free resources are added to Martian government. We have, I already told you about it a bit, the population, which when it comes to Mars goes to displaced population and can be resettled, housed in the areas on the Mars, which actually Martian government should take care of, because this is in their best interest to have those units as soon as possible part of the community. Just checking if we have any more units, but I don't think so. A couple of things about stacking when we talk about the playing pieces. As I told you, up to 2 bases can be placed in each non-wilderness desert and labyrinth, so maximum 2. Wilderness can have 6 bases, and no bases can be placed on Phobos. Phobos is only accessible to the coin forces, and actually from Phobos you can connect to the starports and immediately deploy the forces, which is sometimes one of the best plays by the counter-insurgent factions. Okay, so this will be pieces of the game. Now maybe let us talk a bit about sequence of play. I zoomed in a bit so you can see the sequence of play, and this sequence of play is similar to other coin games in that sense that we'll be drawing a card. Let me show you some of the cards. We'll be drawing a card, maybe we can put it here, looking which faction is first, and this first faction will have 3 choices. In this case, it's Martian government who has 3 choices. They can do first faction operations only without special activity. They can do first faction operation with special activity, or they can do the event. Usually the event for the Martian government is positive on the top. Then what can happen is once they choose it, the second eligible faction, in this case corporations, can only take the second action or pass. In case of passing, there will be different bonuses depending on the faction. So the Martian government will get 3 resources, the corporations will be able to run the Aldrin cylinder, the Red Dust Rebellion will get 1 resource, and the Church of Reclaimer will get 1 card, which is used like a resource for them. So this is a traditional, approach to 4-player coin game. So if they pass, then we look at the third faction, so the church, they can do this, and those guys will stay eligible. At the end of the turn, we move those 2 here, and those 2 are eligible. We always have 2 cards, we have a current card and future card, so we can make a decision whether it makes sense to act on this card or maybe pass and wait for the next card. I believe this is pretty procedural and pretty self-explanatory in a way how the coin games are being played. As those games, core mechanics are to large extent based also on the cards, we'll tell you now a little more about the cards. Okay, let us talk now about the cards, and there will be like 3 types of cards in this game. You will have Red Dust Rebellion cards, which are simply event cards. You will have Red Dust Rebellion Reclaimer asset cards, which will be specifically used by the Reclaimer faction. And you will have the Red Dust Rebellion Red Dust campaign cards, which will be connected with this Red Rebellion force. Now, it's important to know, I'm just checking one thing. Oh, okay, have it. It's important to understand, how we set up the deck. So we will be getting the event cards. We'll be having 3 Dust Storm cards, which will be telling us when there is a check for victory and other stuff, which usually, separates the big chunks of the game in the coin game. In this game, it's only 3. So as you might expect, it's a rather quick game. It's one, maybe not the shortest, but one of the shorter games, coin games, which I played. How many events do we use? We have event deck. We have all in all we have 48 cards. We deal 3 piles of 12 event cards. And we remove 12 cards. So we have 36 events, and in each of those 12, in the last 6 cards, you will be, shuffling this Dust Storm. So the game will last from 30 to 36 events. It's one of the shortest. You should be able to play easily in 3-4 hours maximum on your first attempt, and when you are more proficient, even quicker. So what do we see on the event card? Let me show you some of those. This is a good example. You see, as always, the sequence of play on the particular card. So in this case, Martian government, corporations, Red Dust, and the Reclaimer. You have some smaller letters below, which are connected to the play with the bots. You will have always one of the events up and the other below, sometimes only one event. Usually the unshaded event is good for the coin forces, shaded event is good for the rebellion forces. Some of the events will be also changing the Earth government confidence onto plus or minus, depending whether it's plus or minus. When you will be checking Earth government trend, if it's on plus, it will be increasing. If it's on the minus, it will be decreasing. You will have also something very important for the Flashpoint, because it shows how quickly the Flashpoint track, which is up to 4, moves. Once you reach the top of the Flashpoint track, you will be going through the Flashpoint turn, which mainly is connected to the storms on the Mars. So these are the event cards. And as I told you, sometimes it's one event, sometimes it's more events. Options to choose. Second type of cards are the campaign cards. There's one campaign card at the beginning of a game, and then you can have another ones during the game. There are 2 ways to do it: with events or with a special campaign operation by the Red Dust. They are usually transforming the play in the favor of the Red Dust movement. Transport workers, construction workers guild, legal injunctions, general strike. For example, we have general strike, and it tells us that workers all over the Mars, down tools, all Martian government operations in spaces without support cost 1 additional Martian government resource, because we have strikes. and so on and so forth. There could be a lot of campaigns, torture video leaks. They really help the rebellions. They are not game breaking or game changing, but a very nice twist to the game. Last type of the cards are critical cards for the Church of Reclaimer, because they don't have resources, they have cards, and they have also some, let's say, values on those cards, some events on those cards. First of all, we'll be talking about Church of Reclaimer, but if you look at the events, they are always last fourth in the sequence. So how to get event executed? You can discard the cards at the beginning of the turn, just to be moved, up on this. One card per moving one up on the priority. Other thing which you can do with those cards is play the events, or you can use those points regarding the operations you will be doing and where you will be doing. Some of them are capabilities, which once you play, you can execute throughout the game. Some of those have the regular number 4, but if you do the rally, it will be 5. So those things really makes playing this faction unique. The last time I played this game, I was actually Church of Reclaimer, and it was great fun, to play with those cards and do some stuff which is completely not typical for coin. And it was really great. So these are those 3 types of cards: the asset cards, the campaign cards, and the event cards with Dust Storm cards inside of them. Let's move on now. Let's talk briefly now about Flashpoint round. Okay, Flashpoint rounds. I told you that when we draw a card, the new card, new event card, which will be active next turn, we have some number here. This number moves the Flashpoint track forward. For example, this will move up to 2. When it reaches this point, the game is temporarily interrupted for a Flashpoint round. And Flashpoint round is mainly consisting of Earth Government Controller and Church of Reclaimer. There are like 4 things which the Earth Government Controller will do, and 2 which Church of Reclaimer will do. I will not be going through each and every line here because I will bore you to death, but it's important to understand what things are happening here. First of all, the Earth Government Controller can activate Aldrin Cycler. So this Aldrin Cycler is started. It starts from this place, and then step by step moves all the things from transit to Phobos, from Earth to transit, and new packages on Earth. So this is first thing which happens. Then we will look at the casualties here, and we'll be reducing profits depending on how many of them are there. Then we will check Earth Government Confidence. So this track here is on plus or minus, and it will move into the proper direction. And also the pieces which we see here will be added to Earth, depending on the Earth Government Confidence. Last thing, it's terraforming. So the corporations will be increasing their profits depending on the bases they have, or they will be decreasing their profits depending on how many conversion centers, so Church of Reclaimer bases, which are flipped, are on the map. So this is the Earth Government Controller, which runs this. And then we have Church of Reclaimer. First of all, we have Dust Storms. We'll be removing all Raging Storms. We'll be rolling for new Approaching Storms. So all this stuff which is typical for the Mars. And then we look at Attrition and Conversion, because those storms might hit areas where we have exposed coin troops, like in this situation, if they don't have base, they will be exposed, and attrition will happen. Yeah, exactly. And there will be also conversion, regarding where we have conversion centers, yeah, the church will have opportunity to place rebels. Then we reset the flashpoint track and we move on. This is cool mechanic. This is interruption, which you cannot predict so well. Probably to some extent you can predict when the victory conditions check will happen, but not flashpoints. You cannot simply predict the sandstorms. Speaking of victory checks, this is the dust storm run, and I remind you that we have dust storm cards in the events deck, and once we encounter them, we will be resolving the dust storms. This is a typical coin, let's say, not mechanic, like propaganda turn, in other games. What will happen? Typical things. First of all, victory phase. Before checking victory points, they will be still adjusted by the number of casualties which are here. Then there will be resource phase. All factions will be getting the resources depending on the faction for different things. Then we will have support phase. Factions will be able to pacify, lobby, agitate. This is mainly connected with increasing from active opposition to neutral, from active opposition to passive opposition, to neutral, to passive support, to active support. Important, Martian government can also spend as many as 5 resources to move up Earth government confidence once. Then there is a redeployment phase, also something which you see in many coin games. All 4 factions can redeploy their units. And then we have a reset phase, where we need to, as always, make everybody who is active hidden, if there is such a possibility, for rebels or special operations. We will be removing campaign cards, we will be shuffling all the assets which Church of Reclaimer used. Also, everybody will be eligible, so here we will change everybody to eligible. We'll reset also Flashpoint track. And we'll continue with the game. So I would like to draw your attention that while this dust storm runs is kind of a typical, you have 12 cards, 12 cards, 12 cards, and in each 12 you have shuffled in the last 6 cards this dust storm phase. This flashpoint phase is something unique connected to the storms, and which will be changing the dynamic of the game definitely. Okay, that's all for this. We will jump to one last point: how to win the game. I will be describing how to win the game, of course, in the detailed materials about each and every faction. I will also be describing what each faction can do, how they can do the operations, how can they do special activities. Each of the faction has a different set, beautifully presented. By the way, the game is beautifully produced. Top-notch product from GMT Gate, really, really like it. However, what I would like to focus now is how a particular faction wins the game. Let's start with the most typical faction, Martian government. They want to have total support, so hearts and minds of the people on the Mars, plus the confidence over overlords from the Earth at more than 34. So total support, remember how you calculate the support. It's the active support, which is 2 times number of population, or it can be passive support, which is a multiplier of 1 times the population. The same way you also calculate the opposition. If it's passive opposition, so this is a multiplier 1 of the population, so it will be 2 in this particular shepherd labyrinth. If it will be active opposition, it will be 2 times 2, 4. So for the Earth government, it's a total support plus Earth government confidence more than 34. For the second insurgent faction, the victory condition is very, very simple. Profits over 36. It's pretty difficult at the beginning. They have profits at 0, Earth government starts, for example, with total support and confidence at 12, and they need to go to 36. It's a long way, but it's very straightforward way. Very, very straightforward way. It's probably the easiest from understanding victory condition. What about rebels? Red Dust will have one of the most typical counterinsurgency games victory conditions. Total opposition plus Red Dust bases on Mars exceeds 32. Total opposition, as I told you, if the labyrinth or the desert is is opposition active or passive times population, passive multiplayer 1, active multiplayer 2 plus the bases, and they start at 14, and in order to win they need to have 32. So probably one of the closest factions to the victory. However, it's not so easy for them to simply grow further. And the last but not least, Church of the Reclaimer. Church of the Reclaimer victory conditions are following. CR bases on Mars plus CR controlled spaces exceeds all other bases on map. So they want to control and they want to have more bases than the rest. That is why you have this marker, enemy bases, and here you have marker for their victory condition. And as you can see, they already control some of areas. I'm not sure if wilderness can be controlled. I would need to double check it. And that's all for victory conditions. Okay guys, with this I would like to conclude this teach or how to play or rules explained material about Red Dust Rebellion. Really cool coin game on Mars with a really nice setup, beautiful production quality top notch, interesting mechanics, a lot of innovative things for the coin system. I hope that you have now a little more understanding of the flow of the game, of the main rules of the game. The next steps for me will be to show you, as already explained, all those factions which we discussed today, what operations they have, what they can do, and how to use them, what good events they have, what strategies they can employ in order to win the game. However, for today I will finish here. If you liked this video, do not hesitate to give a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content like this, kindly please subscribe. Each and every subscription counts for such a small content creator like the Boardgames Chronicle. Thank you very much for being with me, and thank you for watching.